What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Midnight Monster Corner podcast. I am one of your hosts, Frosty, and alongside me, as always, is Corey Pete.
What's up?
And we got Tony Arroyo back for round 3 and possibly a continuing host. So we are back. This is a special bonus episode, if you will. We've been releasing one a week. This is a bonus. This is it's currently July 5th, and we decided we're going to have a special little 4th of July Independence Day episode for you guys. We dug into the depths of the horror movie archive and picked out a movie to review that is themed around Independence Day. So we're going to be reviewing the 90s gem that is Uncle Sam.
Yeah.
So I had actually never seen this movie until you had mentioned it. You said you had a copy. Let me borrow it. I watched the Blue Underground DVD release, and I must say the quality was very, very good.
Gotta love Blue Underground.
But it was an interesting movie. I guess we'll just kick this thing right off since we're kind of not really following like a set formula or agenda or anything in this episode, since it is kind of just a little bonus take. So I guess I'll let you guys have the floor here. What were y'all's thoughts on this one?
Man, I'm telling you what, Uncle Sam it's definitely of its time. It's just oozes like mid 90s, man. I'm telling you, like, and it's funny, this movie being directed by Bill Lustig, guy that directed Maniac and of course the Maniac Cop movies, and this is definitely one of his lesser quality movies, but at the end of the day, it was still pretty damn entertaining. I mean, I'm not going to say it's a great movie. It's definitely got its faults. It's got its problems. But you know what? I had fun with it, man. I revisited it. It's been a while. Probably been about, I don't know, maybe 7 years since I've seen it. So it's been a long time. So it's almost like watching it for the first time again. Because I'd forgotten a lot of the cameos that were in it. There's a lot of cameos in this movie, man. And I just kept knocking them off one by one. I'm like, oh man, look, it's Isaac Hayes, man. That's so cool. And I loved him in this. He was great. Every time Isaac Hayes would spit dialogue, it was just wonderful.
Yeah. I actually wrote down a couple lines that he said in the movie.
But yeah,
for me,
go ahead, Corey.
No, go ahead, man.
No, I was just gonna say, go ahead, Corey. What are you thinking?
Well, for me, honestly, I'm right there almost with you. I think some of the death scenes could have been a little bit better. However, ultimately, I feel that that's kind of the only thing that really lacks. I love the storyline. I love the fact that you can watch this movie, forget all about this movie, and then be surprised at who is in it. And like you were saying about Isaac Hayes, I kind of already remembered that Isaac Hayes had a part in this movie. What I forgot about was PJ Souls, and when I seen her, I was like, "Oh my God, it's PJ Souls!" And then she played such a small role, but it was still really cool to see her in a film. Especially in the '90s, it was really cool. But yeah, just some of the other stuff in it that ultimately I loved about it was, well, one of the things that I felt is kind of different is, is it a zombie film? Is it, what exactly is this? 'Cause he's not your cliche zombie. He's kind of just a guy that's been risen from the dead.
It's a slasher film. 100%.
Yeah, definitely. It's like a zombie slasher film, man. Kind of reminds me of a movie that it's an old obscure Canadian movie called Death Dream, which is really, really good. It kind of reminded me of that. Kind of had the same feel. But it's definitely cool to see, because there's not very many horror films that really take place on 4th of July or have that Independence Day feel. I know the big one is Return of the Living Dead, but this is one that sits on its own as a themed Independence Day film, which is really cool, which I wish they would take more advantage of, or wish they did take more advantage of. But
Right.
unfortunately, they didn't. So we only have this and maybe a handful of others to choose from when we're doing an Independence Day themed viewing. So, and really, this is the one that really pushes heavy on that theme. So, like, it's unfortunate that it didn't happen more, but like I said, at least at least you have your couple, and of course, Return of the Living Dead being one of the big ones. But yeah, man, I mean, it was fun. I'm telling you, the look of Uncle Sam, the look of the prosthetics and the makeup reminded me of Big Ben from the movie House. I wrote that down on my notes. Like, man, he looks just like Big Ben. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it really does. He looks just like him. So I was like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I agree with you there. He really looked like, I mean, just yeah, exactly like what you're saying from House, Big Ben.
Mhm.
But yeah, and a funny thing about what you were saying as far as um, July 4th being Return of the Living Dead film, being a July 4th film. I never knew that until just the other day, and you know how I am about that movie.
Oh
I
yeah,
was
it's
actually
favorites, man. Yeah.
fumbling around on Facebook, and I'd seen it, and I was like, "Gotta be kidding me! This blows my damn mind right now."
Oh yeah.
So yeah, this movie was filmed in '96, and it was filmed in Laverne, California. I'm not sure how you said that. Estimated budget of $2 million, which I felt like was, I mean, it showed, right. Like, quality wise, the movie was like, the film quality was great.
They're shot well. Yeah.
Yeah,
It
and I
really
mean, there
was.
there was some notable names in the movie, like Isaac Hayes. Like, you want Isaac Hayes in the movie, you better pay him, right?
Exactly. I think a lot of that budget went to the cameos and stuff like that. Like Robert Forster probably wasn't cheap, and
Yeah,
People Souls probably got a little bit of a nice little paycheck from it. So you
right.
know, yeah.
But yeah, this movie actually released on July 4th in 1997, so that was kind of cool. But I mean, if you're watching this now, chances are you've seen the movie. But just basically, the movie takes place. Um, Sam Harper. The movie starts off that Sam Harper's character has been shot down, apparently by friendly fire. And you learn later he was just this big gun ho military guy that just enjoyed killing more than he did serving his country, kind of deal. And he was just crazy and super abusive and all this stuff.
Hmm.
But somehow that warrants him to be able to come back to life and kill more people.
Right.
But yeah, so I was writing down notes as I was watching this movie, and this movie had so many so many things in it that were just really off-putting and really weird, and it was just kind of like out of nowhere, like that military, the colonel, I guess, that visited his ex-wife, and to tell her to bring her the news that they found his body or whatever. Like, he just shows up in the middle of the night. And he's just like, "Hey, we found your husband's body. He's dead. Bye," and leaves. Then he gets on the phone with his buddy, and he's like talking all nasty about the women. So he's already like a sleazeball. So you're like, okay, that guy's got to die, obviously, right?
Yeah.
Like, sleazeballs in horror movies never live usually.
You usually get their comeuppance in the end.
Yeah, pretty much. So the nephew's like super obsessed with his uncle Sam Harper, and his mom and aunt know the truth about him because he was apparently a piece of shit. And the kids was kind of hard to read in this movie because he was like super nice and like just very kind and soft spoken, but then he would say shit like he was the only one around here that did anything.
Yeah.
Well, I think he was kind of brainwashed a little bit by his uncle.
Yeah, yeah.
You know.
Mhm. He didn't even wrote him that letter before he left. It was like, if anybody talks crap about America, kick their butt.
Yeah.
Which is a great like precedent for the movie, Like,
Oh,
that was
yeah.
his whole shtick, that was his raison d'etre. It was so funny because like when he was dressed up like Uncle Sam and he's walking around the little festival, and like he'd look over and see somebody like committing like a sinful act towards America. Like it would zoom in, and his eyes would get all wide. It's like, oh no, they've got to die now. So,
Yeah, that's another thing I liked about it was a lot of the end took place at the festival, which was pretty cool. I like horror films that also take advantage of that, take a place during a festival or like a carnival or something like that. Like I wish there was more of that in horror films, but the fact that we did get that at the end was really cool, man. Really welcoming. So I liked all that stuff actually.
yeah, definitely. So one thing I did like though, when he was walking around the festival, like he was sure he was a zombie, like he was this risen this risen ex-human that just come back to life and had enough conscience to like kill a person, steal their clothes, and sneak around a festival. He was like waving and shaking hands like he was Uncle Sam in that moment.
Yeah.
And I thought that was kind of a funny touch, like he stayed in character. That was like his little way he could sneak around and kill people.
Yeah, exactly. I really like that about that whole situation. Like he played that part just so well, just walking around, moseying around, and everyone just didn't know, And there was even one
man.
Yeah, there was even that line like, "Who is that guy? He's playing a great Uncle Sam," or something like that. And I was like, "Well, that's kind of meta." Just saying, hey,
meta, what a perfect word.
We're gonna put you in the script and or have you in there.
Yep.
Just saying how good of a job you're doing. But yeah, I agree.
Also,
it's really cool. Yeah.
Is it normal to have the casket in your house?
Right.
I don't think that's been practiced for a while, but it used to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the late 90s.
Yeah, I just thought that was funny. The stepdad, or not the stepdad. He wasn't a stepdad. He was just like someone that was dating the mom, but he's trying to get fresh with her, and she's like, "We can't. There's a body in the.
There's a dead body now. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I love that.
There's a casket in the living room.
Yeah. It's so like some of the deaths were so random, and I will get more into that later. But so his mom's boyfriend dresses up like Abe Lincoln. He's like talking shit about the national anthem.
Oh yeah.
He's like, Francis Scott Key. What else did he write? He didn't write any other hits. Like he wasn't fucking Elvis. Like the national anthem was #1 platinum.
Exactly.
And so yeah, he dies, but in a weird way. And I was talking to Corey about this earlier. Like, so he's dressed up like Abe Lincoln, and he's sitting in the chair. And then I don't know her name in the movie, but his girlfriend, basically, the boy's mom, walks up and she tries to say something to him, and she looks up, and he's sitting there, and he's got a bullet hole in his head. Where you see in the previous scene, he grabs the gun and goes to, so you're thinking, okay, he's gonna shoot somebody, but then like it never shows it. Mm-hmm. Then he's like, and Corey made a good point, and it's like, well, maybe it's because he was dressed up like Abe Lincoln, and they wanted him to die that way with a gunshot wound in the head, but they didn't want to reenact it because it might draw too much controversy.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly. I think you nailed it, dude. That's exactly why they did that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
this assassination.
And to that, I will say they weren't very shy at that time period. I mean, it was still kind of fresh in the early 90s, but late 80s, early 90s, they really started doing a whole lot of headshot scenes and explosions and stuff like that. So they really had no excuse not to show that, other than it had to have been that, or for at least them to get a decent rating on this film. And I think that's where a lot of the kills came from on this one. Like you see, like, was it Willie the pervert?
Yep.
He just all you see is him fall off the stilts, and then you see Sam Harper's character just come at him with the shears. Mm-hmm. That's all you see. And then next thing you know,
can we talk about how awkward that scene was? Like you see the Uncle Sam mask, and then like the camera kind of pans in this like half circle kind of motion, and then you see him standing there with the stilts on. And she's all like, "Get out of here, you pervert!" And so he takes all running.
That line delivery by her was awful, man. That was terrible, man.
Yeah.
Like it didn't line up at all.
Oh yeah, bad.
But then, like, as he's being chased by Sam Harper, he's like, "Stop following me!" He was just really weird sounding. I was
And
like,
then-
"What is going on here?"
And then he hits that fake ass tree. Kelsey actually pointed that out. She was like, "That tree looks so fucking fake."
That was a fake tree, man. He's
great.
getting chased by this weird looking dude running for his life. He hits the tree, he hits the ground. The first thing he thinks is, "Oh no, my costume's messed up. I need to wear this tomorrow at the festival."
Right.
Like, I've been trying to get my ass up. Like, what are you doing, man? So then, yeah, he gets killed by the hedgers, and don't show it.
Mm-mm.
So missed
Yeah, there's a lot
opportunity,
of
I guess.
there are a lot of missed opportunities with the kills, man. They did shy away from a lot, which is unfortunate. With a movie like this being a slasher film, you just want to see those gory kills, man. You want to
Right.
see all the guts and gore. But like I said, for whatever reason, they had to really shy away from it and use editing tricks and stuff to kind of censor themselves almost. But like I said, especially with the Abe Lincoln thing, to you guys' point, it's funny, it's ironic that William Lustig directed this, and he directed Maniac, in which Maniac has one of the best head explosion scenes in all of horror history in it, and then this
Yeah.
one he didn't really get to do it. So it's kind of funny how maybe he's like, "Oh, I couldn't top my Maniac head explosion, so there's just no way I'm going to film another head explosion in this movie or a headshot in this movie." So
Or maybe he genuinely feared backlash.
yeah,
Or they could have also been rushed with
Oh, yeah.
production. I mean,
Sure.
hence why, like, the scene with the meat cleaver and he cuts the kid's head off. Like, it was super, like, one swipe, he cuts his head off. Like, that was a funny scene too.
that was a funny scene, but like when they're looking for the kid's head and stuff like that, they say, "Oh, well, we couldn't find it. It was a headless body and couldn't find the head." And then it cuts to the chick with the smoker, and I was like, "The head's in the smoker. You can tell from a mile away it's going to be."
Cliche.
And sure enough, they open it, and of course, the head's in there.
Yeah.
Like, see that coming from a mile away.
Mm.
Well,
But
to
that whole
Daniel's
scene-
point,
Go ahead, man.
to your point, as far as them rushing, that could be a possibility for the simple fact that when they were shooting this, all you see is they were shooting this in '96, but they had to have it released by July 4th, 1997. So you can see where clearly it came in. Its actual release date was July 4th.
Yeah.
So there could have been a rush to get it done.
Mhm.
To your point.
Absolutely.
But I will say that when we were talking about that kill earlier, Daniel, we were talking about this haggard ass potato sack race that was going on, and all the fucking rusty ass farm equipment that's standing like in the middle of this. So these kids are like hopping around like these fucking rusty ass machineries. It's like I'm waiting for somebody to get impaled here.
So they're racing, and then the one jackass who, mind you, he just sung the national anthem really terribly, or really well, depending on what genre of music you like.
Yeah,
'Cause
exactly.
He went from like a really operatic to like hardcore, and I was like, dude, that's actually pretty good. And then like, then he moons everybody. He's like, "Fuck you, America!" And then you see Sam Harper's face in his eyes. He's like, "This kid
I'm gonna
has
kill
to
that
die."
kid.
Yeah, I'm gonna kill that little son of a bitch.
Which I was hoping that would happen because you see those three kids in there in the cemetery just like trashing everything, writing or doing swastikas on the tombstones and
Oh
just
yeah.
just act like just jackasses trying to. Which it was funny when they were trying to light the flag, they had the lighter fluid, but they were pouring it and acting like they were pouring lighter fluid, but there was nothing coming out of that thing.
Yeah, you can clearly see
I
that.
noticed that. Now
Yeah,
you
I was
mentioned
like,
that.
wait a minute, there's nothing in there. But yeah, those three individuals in particular, I was like, oh man, they all three got to die, and then two of them ended up dying in the cemetery, but the other guy got away. I was like, there's no way they're letting him get away, and then of course, boom,
Yeah, you guys comeuppance.
he got his
didn't
come up.
care. Like, he didn't care that he hadn't seen his friends.
Nah,
Anywhere.
didn't worry about him at all.
That you bring up another point too. The kid that he buried alive, Like I guess he threw him in the. I guess he broke his leg, then threw him in. But
Yeah.
the leg shot scene just looked awful. It looked like they put some Nickelodeon gack on his leg, which
Oh, what's that? Didn't you notice when they showed the close up of his leg? Obviously, you could see there's like bones sticking out, so it's like, oh, that's fucking broken. But then when they show him like scampering around in
there's
the
nothing.
actual grave, there's nothing on his pants. It's like I was like, where's the fucking bone broken at? I'm looking all over the place for it. I
Where's the
didn't see it.
Nickelodeon gack? Which, relative to the time, Nickelodeon gag would have been a thing.
Oh yeah.
So I think they went to Kmart, which was still open at the time, bought some Nickelodeon gag and slapped it on that boy's leg. I'm telling you.
Yep.
And he's like,
25
my
special
leg.
effects.
That's right. So we got to rush production here. We can't fool around. And then
How do you make a run to Kmart? It's back.
so
What'd you guys think about the opening scene? I want to talk about that real quick.
Because I was wondering if that was like some sort of like fantasy sequence or something, because I didn't quite understand how. So when they're going to inspect the body, Uncle Sam just springs to life and kills I guess it was a major and a colonel or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Two members of the military. He kills them, and then he's like, "Oh, friendly fire." Then like just goes back into a slumber, and then just waits for them to ship his body up. But I was like, wait a minute. And then they cut away from when his nephew cuts his foot and like it bleeds all over his picture. So I'm like, is that what keeps bringing him to life, or is that what brought him to life, or is there?
Or is it
I
the
don't know.
three kids in the cemetery?
Right, and then the three kids in the cemetery do what they're doing, and they kind of like trash his grave, and then he kind of wakes up from that. So I'm like, I don't know if it's just like certain things that spring him to life and make him. I don't know. It's weird how they did that. It's very odd.
It's a hell of a ritual.
It's
you gotta cut your
steps.
foot. You gotta break the picture, cut your foot, pour your blood all over the picture.
Yeah.
Then you gotta spray paint a swastika on a grave, and then you gotta light a American flag on fire and spin it around like a bullet.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's all as metal as you can get, really. I mean, I don't know. I was wondering about that in the beginning, because when I was writing my notes, I was like, so what makes Uncle Sam tick? What makes him come to life or something? And I saw that, and I'm like, is that what made him spring back to life and shoot those two, members of the military, or is that an after thing, like that cut on his foot happened before that, and that's what's I don't know. Like or maybe it was the line that said it was friendly fire, and he just got pissed off and woke up and just shot him, and then because that makes sense because he said the line after that too. So
Yeah.
That
Sorry,
one
it's only friendly fire.
It's only friendly fire.
Exactly. So
I feel bad for that one guy that was searching the helicopter, because he didn't even know what was going on. He's like, this looks like friendly fire. And, and the colonel was like, I don't want to hear that shit. And he got shot. He didn't hate his country. He didn't deserve to die. So.
But as far as what you were saying, Tony, there's a scene towards the end where Sam goes back to visit his wife, and there's obviously some confrontation between Jody and Sam, and he's trying to show Sam that he's like not afraid of him, and he's like, this is why you brought me back, so it's almost like even that was kind of explained in the film a little bit, So I don't honestly, I can't sit here and tell you what brought Sam back from the dead, but obviously it was kind of explained that Sam's the one that brought him back somehow, some way. But even like when he's dressed up as Uncle Sam in the parade and the festival, he walks up to that burnt boy and he's like, I'm here to do what you want me to do.
Yeah, can we talk about Barry for a second?
Yeah,
and how he has, because he got burnt by fireworks. What kind of fucking fireworks are they using to make you burnt, blind, and in a wheelchair? Jesus.
Wait, was he in the wheelchair before or after? Because then I could instantly see that Terry guy. Get out the way, Terry. What you doing, Terry?
So like, that apparently gives you ESP, like you're fucking Xavier from X-Men.
Yeah, I didn't get. There's a lot of stuff like that that's not really ever explained. Like
Never
I don't.
explained. He's
No.
like, someone just died. And his dad's like, I should have left you in the shade. And then like later on in the movie, he's like, when they're shooting a cannon at him, when Jed Crowley, I guess his name is Isaac Hayes' character. He's like, I can't shoot it with what's the boy's name?
Jody.
Jody, yeah, thank you. He's like, I can't shoot it with Jody in the way. He's like, he'll move. It's like, how do you what?
How do you know this?
You know this, man.
Crazy,
So.
dude. I don't get it. Which is funny at the festival. I noticed that too when his parents came back with the food. He's supposed to be blind, but he knew exactly where the food was, and he grabbed it without them even like giving him. He just grabbed the food. He's like, well, apparently he's not that blind. I mean, he could see enough to grab the food.
He's
Oh my God.
pretending.
Right?
That's a movie. That's got to be a blooper.
Oh, it is. It is.
Oh my
But
God.
yeah, I just don't understand where that whole. Like I said, that was another point where it's like, can this kind of be fleshed out a little bit more? Can we kind of figure out what's going on here to kind of bring context to all this with the kid in the wheelchair and his ESP and all that? And like, we need some answers here. This is kind of.
I like how none of that was explained at all. Like, who the fuck is this blind kid? And okay, PJ Souls is his mom. That's cool.
Right.
And she was such an ass in that film. Actually, she was kind of. But I mean, I get it because your son, got blown up by firecrackers essentially, and I guess it's his friend's fault.
The previous year, her son gets obliterated by fireworks. So what do? You take it to a fireworks show?
Well, did you hear the comment that she made? She was like, "I hope they're there smiling because seeing you, they won't smile anymore," or something. It's like, oh wow. So she's ultimately there to literally rain on everyone's parade
Pretty
with
much.
her
Like,
blind kid.
guilt trip them into probably not going off on the fireworks and stuff like that. Yeah. Makes sense to me. But yeah, I don't understand why none of that was ever explained. I don't like I said, then again, it could come down to rush budget or rush production and just some stuff wasn't filmed and you never really know. You just never really know because there's no trivia on it, so you never really, unless you talk to filmmakers or something, try to figure out what happened. You just probably will never know. But
Yeah, there was no trivia for this movie at all.
none at all, man. You go on IMDb and you can't really find much of anything.
Mm. So I think best character of the movie definitely is Isaac Hayes' character.
He was
Jed
great.
Crowley. Rest in peace. Died, and I actually forgot that he had passed away. 2008. Because Corey brought him up and was like, I forgot Isaac Hayes was in the movie, and it took me a minute, and I was like, who? He's like, the guy did Chef from South Park, and then I looked up his IMDb, and it like bolt of lightning hit me because I was like, I've seen this guy in a movie recently. But where? And I looked it up. I just watched Escape from New York. He played the Duke.
Yep. A number one.
Yeah, I was like, well, damn.
Yeah.
So
But it's funny because
Duke's
this
number
came
one.
out '96, and like right after this, he was chef in South Park because South Park came out right after this. So like he literally went from this to South Park. Like
So
That's cool.
The creators of South Park are horror fans. Can you confirm?
Yeah, I believe they are.
Something else he played in too. I looked it up. I was like, I don't remember him in that movie. It was Robin Hood Men in Tights. He played a sneeze, father of a Chew, which was played by Dave Chappelle.
Oh, that's so great. Oh yeah, dude.
It's great.
Yeah.
So back to what you were saying, Daniel, when the sergeant was there like late at night to confirm that the body of Sam had been found. Did you pick up on what he said to the wife as she closed the door? Did you guys?
You'll get over it or something.
Yeah, he's like, I hope you get over his death pretty soon. She just like got off of a date.
No. He didn't say I hope. He said you'll get over it soon.
Yeah, or something like that.
And then she shuts the door and cries her eyes out.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, and I actually asked like Kelsey that. I was like talking to her. I was like, if I went to war and I was missing for 3 years, would you just assume the worst and just start dating frivolously, or would you, and she was like, no. I was like, right. I was like, that's his point too. He's like, you'll get over it pretty soon.
You'll get over it. Then he goes and calls his buddy, and he's like, "Yeah, I could get that."
He mentioned something. He's like, "That's why I took this job, to get in with the widows or something like that."
Yeah,
Yeah.
like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
It don't show
he
him
does-
die either. It just
he
shows
does-
his dead body.
yeah, and he does make it a point that to let them know that, hey, I'm staying in the inn.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you see that scene, and then you don't see him again until Jody and Jed Crowley go to investigate the body in the casket, and they open it up, and he's laying in it with his throat slit. It's like, what the? When did this happen?
Yeah. Well,
Somebody
this was
rushed.
explained. It's
Yeah.
another loophole in the plot, I guess.
Yeah.
Definitely, dude.
How about that hill that kid fell down?
Oh, dude, that was a gnarly fall too, man. He just got up like it was like it was nothing. Dude.
Such a big. I know. It's such
I
a
thought
big
I was watching
hill.
Black Sheep.
Chris
Chris Farley.
Farley. Please stay strong. Dude, that or Hot Rod. That was a gnarly fall. He's punch dancing his rage out in a wooded glen. Oh man, yeah, that was a hell of a fall. And then he gets right back up and starts racing again because he's obviously cheating, trying to win.
Oh yeah, dude, he was just trucking all those kids too. It was hilarious. Like he was just bulldozing through. And then there was one guy, though there was supposed to be a bunch of kids. There was one guy, and it looked like he was like 40. He was racing with the kids. Like, what is this dude doing?
It's like they didn't have the budget for one more kid.
Right? They just say, he's like, "Hey, we gotta have somebody stand in."
Hey, Billy,
This dude,
put that coffee down. Go put this potato sack on.
Hey, we got this gack over here, this Nickelodeon gack. If you want to be in this movie, I'll give it to you.
Have you seen this stuff? It's amazing. Director's like, I got an idea.
There's
Go to
definitely
Kmart.
there's little things you notice in this movie that they're just like, what is going on, man? You have to write down and say, what are they thinking?
That's exactly what I did. I was like, what the fuck? And I started like writing it down.
What do you think about that? Speaking of which, the whole scene where Jody's talking to Jed at the viewing of the uncle, where he's talking about the leg, and then he starts talking about Jed's missing body parts.
Oh yeah, he's like, I heard there was, because he was talking about his leg, and he knocks on it, and he's like, I heard there was other. No, he goes, what else did they tell us? Did they say about me? And he's like, nothing. He's like, that ain't true. And then he like basically was implying that there was a rumor going around that like his dick had been blown off or something.
Yeah. Yeah, Isaac Hayes was great, man. That was definitely my favorite dialogue scene when he was just talking to the kid, and he was like, "Yeah, my wife passed up a lot of good two-legged men for me." So he's just like, and he's like, sometimes sometimes I swear I could feel my feet or my toes twitching, and everything he said was like really really cool, man. He was just such a great actor, and
It was.
Ghost leg.
Ghost leg, yeah.
It's like the real term is phantom pain is what they call it.
Right.
He's like, it's called ghost leg. I'm like, no, it's not. I'm like, you call it ghost leg. My favorite line is definitely when Jed was talking to Sam in the kitchen. He's like, he goes, you never fought for your country. You only killed for the love of killing. So just die.
That's great.
And then the next scene, you see him go flying through the window.
I will say, I love that. I love the beginning of that scene. Actually, the camera angle behind the mask showing the two characters through the eyes of the masks just fucking awesome.
Yeah, that was very cool.
Hands down, it's probably my favorite shot of the whole film.
Also, he's using that like really old ass antiquated dial phone with the turn dial, and like if you notice, as he's dialing, he's going 911. Like we know who you're calling, man. You don't have to tell us.
This damn rotary phone.
That's so good.
Yeah, it was great, man.
And so at the end, when Jody finally confronts Sam in the house, Sam's just kind of like, he was on this whole tangent about, oh, he won't hurt me, he won't hurt me. He tells him to get out, and then he turns to Jed and he goes, "Go get the cannon."
Yeah.
Dude, I died because they just tried to shoot him, and of course the bullets didn't do anything. And he just kept coming. They're like, he's like, it's no use, it's no use. And Jody's like, go get the cannon.
I love that too, because that's not how cannons work. They don't just explode a house like they did.
No.
No,
it doesn't. It's not an explosive cannonball. It's just a cannonball. So I just love how they just made everything explode from the cannonball. So funny.
So yeah, so Jody's holding Sam's hand and they're walking out, and Jed's like, I can't light it, and the fucking Xavier's like, he'll move. And so he lights it, and Jody's like, just kind of chorus him, just leading him to the end of the porch or whatever. He's trying to make Sam think he's on his side and all this stuff. And then you see the cannon light, and then Jody just hauls ass. And so they shoot him, and it explodes, which I noticed that too. It's like, that's not what? Cannonballs don't blow up.
They don't work that way.
So then he lives, of course, and he goes after Jody, and he's on fire. And so then what do? They shoot him again. But this time it launches him into the house, and the house just blows up.
Yeah.
And everyone starts clapping. It's like, yeah. And meanwhile, I'm over here like, you just burned down Isabel's house. That was fun. It was a fun movie.
It was.
What did you think about
a lot of good chuckle moments? You had to laugh and just couldn't help it.
So the ending of the film, what's your take on that?
Well, you know what the ending is, right? You know what that is, right?
So obviously you see him burning all the military crap, right? And then he turns and looks at his mom and smiles. That's the end of the movie. So please enlighten me. If I was really confused by the ending. Obviously, I mean, I had to rewind it because I thought I missed something. I was like, maybe Sam walked up on his mom or something, and he's seen it and smiled.
Yeah,
but I was really confused there. Like, what was going on?
It's the ambiguity ending, because that was a nod to City of the Living Dead, Fulci's film. And Fulci's film ended the same way with the cutaway and the kid, and then the breakaway like they did. And then I knew it as soon as the movie ended because it said in honor of Fulci, and it had Fulci's name because Fulci died in '96. So
okay,
I was like, that's a total nod to City of the Living Dead.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And actually I was going to ask you that because it doesn't say Lucio Fulci. It actually just says Lucio.
Lucio, yep.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly who it was because.
And I was like, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to say because after I saw Lucio, I was like, well, Fulci died in '96. This movie came out in '96. I was like, let me go on IMDb, and sure enough, it said it was a nod to City of the Living Dead for Fulci because he passed away that year. So I'm like, that's cool, man. That's really cool.
Yeah, I noticed that too. And of course, I read about it. I was doing my research, but I thought it was kind of cool. Like, I thought it was cool that they did that. They what you call it? Basically gave him a shout out there in the credits. I thought it was kind of cool.
Yeah, he deserved it, man. Fulci was a legend. So any movie that can honor him and stuff like that is really neat. I'm glad they took the opportunity to do that because then, of course, Bill Lustig, started up Blue Underground, and Blue Underground snatched up a lot of Fulci's filmography and put it out there for the world to see, and a lot of fans like me, because that's where I saw most of my Fulci films was from those Blue Underground DVDs, and I mean, if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have seen him as early as I did. So, I mean, he really respected the man, and his craft, and it's just really cool to see him, do like a memoriam for him at the end of the movie. Really respect.
Oh, so the director started Blue Underground.
Yes, sir. He sure did.
Oh wow. Okay, that's pretty cool.
Yep.
Yep.
And most of his movies, well, I don't think Maniac Cop 1 or 2 ever made it to Blue Underground, but all of the rest of his stuff came out through Blue Underground. Like Maniac was put out through Blue Underground, of course, this movie right here, and so yeah, he definitely had a hand in Fulci's filmography as well. He put a lot of his stuff out in the early days of DVD. So yeah, it's really cool seeing that, man. Just an ode and respect to the guy that came before him, and I'm sure he was really influenced by Fulci and his work. So that's most filmmakers were. Yeah, that was a total nod to City of the Living Dead, man. Without seeing the IMDb, I was like, yeah, that's exactly what it reminded me of too, because it was the same kind of ending.
Yeah,
it was the breakaway that gave it away.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's before we start landing this thing, what's your favorite death scenes?
I think one of my favorite is so you have the guy that he ties up and puts on the fireworks display, right? And the cop goes running up the hill to try to save him, and he just blows up. And then the cop goes launching in the air, and they're like, "Oh no!" he starts rolling down the hill. Before he gets to the bottom of the hill, there's Uncle Sam with an American flag on a pole and just javelins him.
Yep.
Just impales him right before he hits the ground.
That's one of the more gory kills in the movie that you actually got to see that they didn't cut away with. So
yeah.
I'm all for the gory kills. So that dude in the sack race that fell down the hill when he got his head lopped off, that was pretty cool. That was probably one of my favorites.
That whole scene's probably my favorite.
Yeah,
Like, to be honest. He falls on the hill. I had to rewind it. That's why I was laughing so hard.
but yeah, just the way he got his head lobbed off, and then of course the whole end gag with it being in the smoker. I was like, yeah, well, that's cool. I'll give the movie that. That was pretty neat. But you could see it coming from a mile away. I was like, yeah, that head's in that smoker. I know it. Just open it up. I know it's in there. Just do it. But yeah, his death was my favorite.
Okay. Yeah, I would say I'm right there, kind of like with Frosty. I love that impale death. I thought that was awesome the way that they did that. I'm up for impalement. I don't know what it is, but yeah, that one there really did the trick for me. Especially the American flag that went all the way through him. That was pretty kick-ass.
It would have been pretty cool if they kept it on there for a minute and he kind of like slowly slid down, and then the flag started catching a wave and it just started flying in the wind. That would have been pretty cool.
Oh yeah.
Neat.
Nice little touch.
So I think I figured out the leg break scene. I think it was Nickelodeon Gak. Okay. And I think what happened was after they cut to where they did the far away shot of him in the ditch, the Gak was gone because he was rolling around the dirt. And so you can't get dirt in Nickelodeon Gak because it'll ruin it.
Oh yeah.
True.
And that Gak belonged to Bill, the coffee guy, which is the 40-year-old in the sack race. So so they had to make sure that's right. They had to preserve it. Can't be putting dirt in Gak. What the fuck's wrong with you?
Don't leave it out too long; it'll dry out too.
That's right. That stuff used to smell like ass, by the way. I don't know if y'all remember that stuff well. I remember it from this.
I remember it, but I don't remember. Like, I vaguely remember it. It's so weird, man.
I remember seeing advertised to death, and I remember we went to like Walmart or something. I think Kmart was the big place we used to go back then. Like, it was kind of like when Walmart and Kmart were still in competition before they got just destroyed.
Yeah,
but we went to Kmart and I got me some Gak, and I was so excited. I was in the back seat and I popped it open and it smelled so bad. My mom's in the front seat, like, "What is that smell?"
Daniel's like, I just farted.
Someone shit. What is that?
It's like a diaper with old Indian food.
Oh God.
That says it all.
That says it all.
I remember playing with Gak when I was a kid. Because we lived near Nickelodeon, so it was nothing for us to like go and like they would sell it all over the place when you went to Universal Studios. So we were all the time going there, and that's where we would get it too. Of course I remember getting it from like Walmart, Kmart, and stuff. But growing up, I will never let my kids play with that crap because I like carpet, and hell no.
Oh hell no, yeah. That's why I don't let my kids play with Play-Doh, man. It's up in the damn carpet all the time. It's the same thing.
I'm gonna eventually replace my carpet, so I won't have to worry about it anymore.
Yep, same here.
But yeah,
I'm
anytime I
eventually going to move into a house without carpet, hopefully.
Yeah, those kids get Play-Doh for like Christmas and stuff. I just look at the person that gave it to them, just like stare into their eyes, like, you did this.
Stare into their soul. Put a hex on them. Something.
Well,
ready to land the plane?
I think we are.
Awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Midnight Monster Corner podcast. We appreciate y'all's listening. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe on the YouTube, which is the only place we are currently at for now. Hoping to remedy that in the near future. But we do appreciate all of your support and listening. We hope that you guys will continue to support and listen to the show and share our podcast with your friends. If you know anybody who likes horror movies or movies in general, or just need something new to listen to, tell them to give us tell them to check us out. We would appreciate that. If you want to follow us, the best place to go would be Facebook. We do have a closed group. Just go to facebook.com, go to the search bar, type in the Midnight Monster Corner podcast. It is a closed group, but we will let you in. And so come be a part of the discussion, post some memes, let us know what you've been watching, let us know if you picked up anything awesome. Shout out, Scratch and Spin. Eric, you're the man.
Yep.
And I have another podcast where I talk about video games and dad jokes and fart jokes, and we act like juvenile delinquents. So go check us out at the Loot Bros Podcast. You can find us on Stitcher, iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, pretty much anywhere you can download a podcast. Be sure to check us out, like, share, subscribe, leave us a review. That would be awesome. And that is it for me. If you guys don't have anything to add, we are out of here.
Yep. Later, guys.
Later.
Later.
Peace.